the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. Cincinnati Bengals continue training camp and preparations for the joint practice with the Indianapolis Colts before Thursday's final preseason game of the season. Dave Lapham was on hand for practice today, and Zach Taylor, this is why players love him, cut practice a little short for him today.
Yeah, I mean, they worked hard up in Chicago. The joint practice was long and arduous, I would say. And, the game was physical as well. So they had Sunday off, but they were in pads, full pads, and they worked hard, but he didn't kill them with long periods and, just overdoing it because he wants to get great work tomorrow, which is going to be extremely important for the number ones. My understanding is the number ones are going to get about 75-80% of the workload. I mean, it's going to be their last hurrah before the opener to get serious work. So it's going to be really slanted in their direction because they're not going to play in the preseason game at all. It seems like, if that's the case. And then the number twos and others will finish that preseason game on Thursday, 2 days later against the Indianapolis Colts. I'm sure the Colts will probably approach it very, very similarly, I would think, but we shall see. So the practice today, Joe Burrow in the very beginning of practice was wearing a black glove on his hand, and I'm thinking, I wonder if he wants to break in that glove, get the feel of the glove again, because it was so brutal up there in Chicago, and he never did have a glove on, and it was tough to control the football. So maybe he just did it just to kind of break it in and get the feel of it again. He didn't wear it during practice at all. It was pre-practice, and so that was an interesting little deal. A lot of special teams work review today, and there were 4 penalties called on. 4 of the 11 penalties were on special teams, and you look at some of them, and they're ticky-tack, but that's what the officials do during the preseason. They overdo it. I mean, they call anything that's close and think, okay, I'll back off during the regular season because I'll get the guys in good habits of, not trying to do too much with their hands, grabbing, whatever the case may be. And that's not unusual. And the Bengals got their hand caught in the cookie jar a few times as a result of that. But I think it's something that's very, very easy to clean up. So I wouldn't be overly concerned with that at this point in time. A lot of individual drills today. Jamar Chase didn't work. Joe Bacci didn't work. Looks like he's got a foot or an ankle issue, mild, I think. T. Higgins just went in the individual drills. He pretty much had a day off. So it was Charlie Jones was back in action. That was good to see. He was back out there with his pads on. And they made it through the football game itself, the actual game, pretty good. There weren't no other significant injuries, but as we know, the injuries they sustained on Thursday night are big, and they both of those players, Evans and Smith, were put on reserve injured list today officially, and they waived Maxwell, defensive tackle out of Tennessee Chattanooga, second-year player. They waived him. So those are the player transactions that took place today. There was a lot of teamwork, moved the ball. Drew Sample caught a big ball over the middle. They were working on screens. They went to Zach Moss on a very successful screen. They ran a tight end screen. The screen game and the quick game were being worked on in the early stages of practice, and one-on-one pass rush drills were more oriented toward tackle ends, defensive tackle defense, and then working against guards and tackle and running twists, ETs, TE twists, that kind of thing, straight rush things, but working in tandem more so than one-on-one. And then they also did drills inside, both guards and center, and they would have 3 defensive linemen covering each player and run twists inside, and sometimes straight rush, bull rush. So got a lot of good work with all 3 guys covered inside, and then 2-man stunts and games on the edge with the guard and tackle. So a lot of good work there. Guy who keeps flashing to me is Cedric Johnson. I mean, this kid's got some ability, man. He's got some athletic talent off the edge, and he's 6'3", 260 pounds, out of Mississippi. He moves very, very fluidly for a guy with that kind of size. On the final analysis, I think on up in Chicago, the biggest negative obviously was the weather. The biggest positive though is learning how to handle it, because at some point in time during the season you're gonna have to handle it. And Zach wanted he's been crying for bad weather the last couple of years because during the season in Cleveland last year, man, it did not go very well. So now they've got that experience again, and all the guys that weren't involved up in Cleveland know exactly what they're working with. So they've got to make adjustments, learn how to handle it, stay over their feet better, everything that goes along with it. And it was also the truth serum, man. You see how they stack up against others. And I thought they really handled the line of scrimmage in both the joint practice and the one-on-one and the in ones versus ones in the joint practice, and then even in the game, twos versus ones in the actual game. I mean, the number ones for the Chicago Bears, 3 and outs, 9 plays, 16 yards, and it was number twos. They were doing a great job. I thought when I first saw the Chicago Bears offensive line and against our defensive line pass rush, the Bears were handling it. Man, they had their hands inside. The Bengals were trying to bull rush them in that bad weather, and they were just kind of hunkering down with low hands. And I thought, oh boy, it's going to be a long day. But then when actual teamwork started and running things, actual football at the line of scrimmage, the Bengals handled it. The ones handled the ones, the twos handled the twos, and then in the game, the twos handled the ones. So I was very encouraged with what I saw, up front. And then also in teams practice today, there was quite a bit of out of pocket in the passing attack. They're trying to marry the protections with the running game, and they're doing a pretty good job of that. And Joe Burrow is very mobile, as we know, semi-rolls, full rows, naked bootlegs. Burgess had a touchdown pass in the back of the end zone during team period to get the ball at the plus 35-yard line, and you just go. A touchdown or field goal. He caught a touchdown pass in the back line of the end zone. Then on another series with Joe Burrow at quarterback on 4th down, Drew Hill matched up with Charlie Jones. And it was, again, good to see him back in the action. And Drew Hill made a nice play and broke on the football and broke it up. So all in all, I think the arrow's pointing up. It's the productivity is there. And they got their legs back after Sunday off and not getting beaten up today. And they're going to have a full slate of action tomorrow. It's going to be multiple periods. It's going to be over 2 hours long, just like it was up in Chicago. And again, the number ones are going to, blow all the carbon off the engine, man. This is it. This is the big work period for them. And then, they'll choke it down a little bit and rest and relax and watch the others play the game. And then cuts are made and all that sort of thing. And I'll tell you, the Indianapolis Colts, Dave, it's a good group to work against for the number ones. DeForest Buckner, their 3 technique, they run a nose tackle 3 technique deal with the 4-3 defense. Gus Bradley's the defensive coordinator. This guy causes problems, man. He just signed a 2-year extension, and he requires double teams. He's definitely somebody that plays at a really high level. They have a linebacker, Zaire Franklin, middle linebacker, very intelligent, tough, hard-nosed guy, 179 tackles. He had 107 of them were unassisted. And I guess they must be very liberal in terms of stats, because that's incredible. That was number 2 in the National Football League. And in the back end, Julian Blackman, strong safety, had 4 interceptions. He's always around the football. They've got players. They've got players at every level. And then, offensively, at the line of scrimmage, they got 2 Pro Bowlers out of Lakota West. Ryan Kelly's still going. He's entering his 9th year. This is a contract year for Ryan Kelly, 4-time Pro Bowler. Right next to him is a 6-time Pro Bowler, Quentin Nelson, who a lot of people are saying his level of play isn't at that level anymore. 6-time Pro Bowler, but those 2 guys are still very, very effective football players inside. So it's going to be very interesting between DeForest Buckner at the 3 technique and Grover Stewart, the nose tackle for the Colts. It's going to be a nice little battle inside. Kwity Paye on the edge is a good player. He had 8.5 sacks last year. And then on the flip side of it, the inside of the offensive line for the defensive tackles to work against, Ryan Kelly and Quentin Nelson. That'll be a good battle. Braden Smith's a good right tackle, but I mean, he missed 9 games last year. He's missed 19 starts in the last 4 years. He's had injury issues, but they're a talented football team. They've got athletes. I mean, at the running back position, you had Jonathan Taylor. In 2021, he was the rushing champion. He led the NFL in rushing. And then last year, he led the NFL 2.7 yards after contact per attempt. That led the entire league. So this dude he's legit. And then Anthony Richardson, a quarterback, 6'4", about 245. He kind of looks like a cross between Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton, but he only played 4 games last year before he injured his shoulder and had to have surgery. But this guy is a genetic phenomenon. So I mean, it's going to be good work for the number ones, and the Indianapolis Colts are a team that people project or could be a playoff team. The Houston Texans have dominated the division, and they're the defending champions last year. But people think that the Indianapolis Colts can slide in there, sneak in there, and get something done. They don't have an AFC title since 2000. AFC South title since 2014. I only got one playoff win. Last time they made the playoffs was 2020. So they're looking to get something done. As we all know, Peyton Manning set a high bar. They won 7 division titles in 10 years when he was there, and they won a Super Bowl and got to another one and lost it. And they're trying to get back to that level. They're not quite there yet, but it's going to be good competition for the Cincinnati Bengals in terms of at the line of scrimmage in the trenches, and then in terms of skill players as well on both sides of the football.
Dave Lapham in the Trenches is brought to you by First Star Logistics. First Star Logistics is currently hiring. They're looking for freight agents. They are an asset-based company with 24/7 support, unsaturated agent network, highest commission percentage in the industry, and over 30,000 pre-screened carriers. Visit firststarlogistics.com/careers for more information on one of the fastest growing companies in Cincinnati and a great place to work. Lap, let me ask you this question. These inter-squad practices, are we going to see, I know the NFL is looking at extending the season another week. Is it going to be a thing where, hey, instead of doing 3 preseason games, maybe it's 1 or 2, and teams go more to this inter-squad scrimmage or joint practices as compared to preseason games?
I could see that, Dave. I could definitely see it happening, particularly when you're talking about, okay, the Cincinnati Bengals, the way they're located geographically, Chicago, not an unreasonable journey, for them to come down here. I mean, you can bus if you have to. It's not ridiculous. But would it be fun? No, 4 hours plus or whatever, but it's very doable. It's like flying from one coast to the other if you have to play East Coast, West Coast during the regular season. The Colts, 2 hours away. Tennessee Titans, not a ridiculous, time frame away. So the Bengals are very, very fortunate. Cleveland, you don't necessarily want to do it with a division opponent. Pittsburgh as well, not a ridiculous journey, but again, another division opponent. So you don't want to necessarily do it against your division rivals, but you've got an opportunity to not have to break your back from a travel standpoint and have quality work with a team in terms of joint practice. For a 2-day period. One day it could be, okay, they can work separately, have separate practices, travel and get your feet back on the ground and have, kind of walkthroughs, get yourself ready. And then the next day have that joint practice, and you can control the injury factor a lot more readily with that joint practice. You don't have to goal line and short yardages where there are always the big pileups and twisted knees and, bodies being contorted in ways that they shouldn't be, and you can avoid all of that, other than if it happens during the course of the joint practice. If you're doing third down, if you don't make it, fourth down, goal line, same thing. I mean, just during the course of joint practice, you can move the ball period. If you have goal line, you can do it, but you don't have to tackle. No tackling. So you can control things, and it would not shock me if something like that were to occur. You get 1 preseason game, maybe 2. And if you want to have any more activity than that, you're on your own and schedule these joint practices and try to do it geographically. And if you're fortunate enough, like Cincinnati, to have franchises that are close enough to you that aren't division rivals, you're in good shape.
The Bengals have a joint practice with the Colts, and that will be tomorrow. But you have to be part of the season ticket member or a wait list exclusive. You have to have a ticket for it. It's not open to the general public. And that's I think the gates open a little after 1:00. And then you get into the practice is supposedly scheduled to end around 4:30. And then the Bengals and Colts will take Paycor Stadium Field on Thursday night, 8 p.m. be on Prime Video, and you can also listen to all the action on the First Star Logistics Bengals Radio Network with Dave Lapham and Dan Horde. Lap, any closing remarks out of, man, it's hard to believe. It just seems like it was yesterday. We were looking at the very first day of training camp, and now things are winding down to where it's almost, we won't be doing these calls every day like we've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, here pretty soon, tomorrow basically is the final workout, the final practice of training camp, basically. And yeah, it it goes fast. There's no question. It just seems like started practice here yesterday. It flies by very, very quickly. And but you know, I think the players are ready. The players, it is good to work against different colored jerseys. There's no doubt about it. You can fall into a false sense of security, and then reality hits you right in the face. You know, it's like, okay, and like I said, it's like true serum. Man, maybe I'm not as good as I've been looking against my teammates. Now I'm going to have to adjust. Or, boy, really well. Well, you know what? Handle success and handle it appropriately. Handle adversity and handle it appropriately. You know, learn how to be a pro, and every day just learn and try to get better. And that's what it's all about. And you're in the final stages of that. And here, like we talked about the other day, here shortly, it's going to be a living nightmare for a bunch of players. There's going to be about 1,000 people out there that are going to be trying to look for jobs on organizations and franchises, because you got 16 practice squad opportunities, and nothing to sneeze at there. You get a good paycheck, keep your NFL dream alive. Teams can pick you up off of other teams' practice squads, so that's a hell of an accomplishment if you can be part of a 16-man practice squad after those final cutdowns are completed. So a lot happening, and again, all these young players that are trying to prove themselves to the Cincinnati Bengals or other teams on tape, 31 other teams. There are 2 chances left: the joint practice that can circulate, and other teams can look at what you did in those particular snaps, and then that preseason game. So the preseason game is going to be more snap opportunities, it looks like, for guys that are going to be trying to, make practice squad at the back end of rosters. But like we said, tomorrow's going to be very, very important for the number ones. They're going to get a ton of work, and this is where, you're going to fine tune and hone in on your assignments and techniques for that opener. And, a lot of work. Then you're going to have a lot of time to rest your bodies and get your body right. And, you don't play for a while after that. So you certainly should give every ounce of effort that you possibly can during that joint practice against the Indianapolis Colts, because that is the final tune-up.
Training camp may be winding down, but things are not winding down on In the Trenches with Dave Lapham. Be sure to join us after the joint practice for an update of what happened during the day. Wednesday, have lunch with Lap, noon Eastern. Live stream with Dave Lapham from In the Trenches from the First Star Logistics Studios will happen. You'll see that on YouTube. We'll put links out on the different social media feeds and push it out so you are reminded by it. That's why you want to subscribe to First Star Media Group or the Dave Lapham In the Trenches channel on YouTube to get those updates when things are going on. Lap said it. Final preseason game Thursday night against the Colts. Then there's some time off. Kickoff. Week 1 of the regular season. Sunday, September 8th, 1 p.m. kickoff against the New England Patriots. Hard to believe it. Regular season football is right around the corner. Lap, always appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. Look forward to talking to you again after the joint practice. And for Dave Lapham, this has been Dave Burke. Hooday.
Hooday, Dave.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.